Hello, welcome to the 6th review of the match played for the National Dutch Online Go Competition 2020. And now we've got the match played between Maximilliano Ciaffi and Julian Gonggrijp. Let's start. Here in the opening, now in this moment, Black played a move to destroy White's shape. However, when there are no white stones on both sides, normally this move is not so interesting. Usually Black plays this kind of move when White would have a stone, for example, in this spot, like this, and later also like this. So that now, if White has stone from both sides, White tries to create some moyo, some like influence White has in this area, so that it might be not easy to get a good extension for Black if Black tries to play something else. Because if Black, for example, wanted to play some things like this, now Black doesn't have a very good extension. Black can play, for example, like this. But it's a little bit too close, so this base is not really optimal for Black. So, for example, because of this, that White has these stones from both sides, it's more difficult for Black to enter somewhere around that area, around that corner, to get a normal solid extension from Black's stones. So when Black doesn't have this opportunity, then Black many times can think about playing, for example, in this spot. There might be also some other moves, maybe like this, maybe possible also to play this way, but most popular are this one and this one. Why playing like this? Because later, doesn't really matter from what side White will answer, Black all the time has the second side. So that if White decides to answer like this, now Black is able, for example, to play this way instead, and later Black is able to play something like this to get some kind of extension. Of course, it's not a very good extension, but Black is able to get some base around. So that in this case, Black can get some not so bad shape. Sometimes in this case, Black might also think about playing here this attachment. Normally, Black might be afraid a little bit that White can go here a little bit higher. So like this, there is a way to cut, so that if Black connects, Black finishes in gote. If Black doesn't connect and Black plays somewhere else, maybe White is able to cut. Like depends if it's very annoying for Black or no. If it's very annoying, then I would recommend to play this side first and later play like this. If it's not so annoying, then might be okay just to play this way and later play tenuki. And if White plays from the other side, if White plays like this, now Black is able to play, for example, this way, and Black can try to do some problems against this White stone. What problems? It's possible, for example, after White plays like this to cut. Later, if White decides to capture the stone, maybe Black will be able to get some exchanges, and later, even if Black escapes with this group, Black didn't leave so huge potential for White as White could have had earlier. Like, of course, Black is able to play also this side and try to destroy a little bit more, but even if Black simply escapes with these stones, Black has a group which should be alive. Black has quite a lot of space to really escape, to survive and so on. And this White's potential is not that huge as it was earlier. So this is the other way of playing. This is like an example. And the other possibility is if Black plays like this, it's basically similar. If White answers something here on the top to get a big area here on the top, Black is anyway able to play this attachment so that Black can enter the other side. If White answers like this, Black is all the time able to play this attachment, for example, like this, so that Black again starts to do something on the top. Later, if White plays like this, even if Black extends, if White connects, this exchange might be some small help for Black, so that later maybe Black will be able to play some a little bit more interesting shape, maybe something like this, maybe something even better. Black in some cases might be also to play like this. This one I would recommend actually more times than just simple extension. Like this, Black might play a little bit faster, but of course there are more cutting points, so maybe White will be able to think about this cutting and later trying to do some other problems. But this is some kind of normal variations what Black thinks about. But anyway, usually White has stones from both sides. So now if we are looking on this shape, how it was in the game, when we see this shape, instead of playing here, I would recommend to play, for example, just like this, on the top, just to get their territory. Now Black gets a base. If White played in this spot, somewhere here, White gets a base. So it's just territory. territory plus some influence for black on the top, and for white if black didn't play there, and if white played in this spot, then white would get there some area. So in this case, when black has a stone, I would recommend to play, for example, this way. But white didn't answer there. Now I feel like it's quite big for white to play this way to get there many points. Now black doesn't really have an opportunity anymore to get there a lot of territory on the top. So yeah, for white I feel like it's quite big to answer this way. White, however, started to invade and complicate this game a little bit. So now let's check what happened. Now black decided to cut. But here in this shape, normally it's good to look on ladders. How are the ladders? If black cuts, white extends. Later, black has usually two options. One option is to connect, and now white is able to play this Atari. So we've got a ladder. Does this ladder work well for black? No, it works well for white. So that if black cannot really escape with the stone and black must play only like this to be able to connect, it's not so good for black. So if white captures, now if black doesn't connect, it's also possible for white to do there some ko. So actually there are quite many problems for black. And if black answers in this case, white just got a ponuki in center. So it also looks very nice for white. White gets much stronger shape. And the other possibility is if black plays this Atari and captures this stone. So now white is not able to play in this way and capture the stone, but white is able to play from the other side. So if white plays this Atari, black captures the stone, white can also make this exchange. And later white is able to capture the other stone also in a ladder. White has here some other stones, black cannot escape because white would just kill these two stones in a ladder. So in this case also it looks quite comfortable for white. So usually black tries to avoid playing this move if black doesn't really have any ladder working well for himself. So that instead of this move, maybe it would be a little bit more interesting for black to play from the other side. And after white connects, black can, for example, play here. And now it's possible to attack a little bit the other stones. It's not like white destroyed black's territory and black didn't get anything back. Now, even if white would play something like this, black gets some kind of a wall. So it's possible to use this wall while playing, for example, in this spot. It's possible to do some problems for white with these two stones. This is one opportunity. Other opportunity, maybe it's still possible to do there's something on the top, for example, while playing like this. Maybe it will be still possible to attack white's group on the top a little bit more. So that it's not like white didn't destroy black's territory and black doesn't have anything for it. Black got a wall. It's possible to use it. So I think black doesn't need to be really afraid of getting a wall and letting white survive on the top. Possible to play this way. In the actual game, black decided to play here. Like I spoke about two variants, there is also one more variant to play this way or this way, and like not letting opponent to get these ladders. However, it's much more difficult, and if black plays like this, white anyway is able to do there quite many problems for black while playing, for example, this way. So it doesn't really work that well for black. And actually white can also try to play even something a little bit different here, but it just starts to be very complicated, and anyway it should be just good for white. So normally in this case I would recommend to play here if ladder works well for black. But let's move to the game. Black played here, and now what to do for white? Like, of course white can extend here. Now white should get just a good result. In the actual game, white decided, however, to play this Atari. So now when black captures this stone, black gets ponuki and white gets a weak group. Like the situation, it looks like disaster for white actually. Because, okay, white cut black. So white got some profit that black is not connected with these two groups. But how to continue? If white plays like this, black has here these stones quite strong. So now black can think about attacking. Maybe black will be able to play like this. Try to lean on some stones from opponent and later really attack quite well these three stones. It might be not that easy for white to really escape because black got here just very strong while capturing this stone. If like white would play, for example, this way, so now if black connects and white connects, this exchange is a very good exchange for white. But after playing this kind of Atari, black doesn't need to connect as well. If black is really afraid, black even in this moment is able to connect here on the top. For example, black can cut and play just like this. If white connects, black is able to connect. So this way is already much better result than it was before. So like before, I mean with this difference, in case we would have this sequence. When you have this sequence and this other sequence, difference is quite big, because in this case white has here some stone, white has more liberties because here is a liberty, and in this other variation white had connected stone here in this spot and black has some extra stone outside. This difference is huge between this variation and this variation from this variant like this, or if black plays like this, it's same. Or from this variant. It looks like it's not so many stones different, but it is quite different. When black has a stone here and white has this connection, it is much better for black already. And black can complicate even more. Black can play even like this. Black can do there many problems for white actually. White can capture the score, but it will be very difficult for white to cut in any way because it's just opening, so there are no cost rates. But I start to speak some complicated stuff. So generally, anyway, it would be quite difficult for white to do there anything like very interesting for himself. So just capturing the score, this stone, and it's going to be just good for black. If black extended, what is the difference? Black extended, so now white will have one opportunity that it might be possible to play this way in center at some point, making this move. Other opportunity is that when white starts to connect here, like how it happened in the game, and black plays some tenuki, later white might be able to extend here with this stone and escape. If white has a good ladder, how it is in this case, so white will be able to escape and white will separate black's groups. So this starts to be a little bit annoying. And in the actual game, black decided to capture the stone. So let's reverse order. It's basically similar, like white played here, black captured the stone, white connected, and now black played like this. It's not so interesting for black, right, to connect here in this spot. So instead of playing this extension, I would just recommend to capture, and after white plays here, it's possible to play something more efficient. Instead of this, if black really wants to play on the top, it's possible to play even like this. For sure it's gonna be better. But it's also possible to try to get some surrounding stones and later attack these white stones on the top. So this is the game. Yeah, it happened like this, and now in this case white played this empty triangle. Empty triangle, normally it's considered as a not good shape, so if it's possible, it's better to try to avoid playing this kind of shape. But in some cases it might be good. For example, empty triangle many times is a good move when it's possible to separate opponent and attack some things, some groups. So that, for example, when we had a shape like this, now when white plays this empty triangle, I can really understand sense in this, because in this case black stones here are not so strong, so that when white cuts there, even though playing not so good shape, white attacks these stones on the top. White will be able to do some problems against these stones. So there is some reason of really cutting in this case, even while playing this empty triangle, so it's possible to attack opponent's group. But in the actual game, when the shape is like this, now it's much more difficult to attack black stones. Black has very strong shape actually here on the top. So when white plays like this, white cannot really use this like way of playing for attacking opponent's group. It will be very difficult to attack opponent's group here. So white already loses this other extra thing what white can do while escaping, because now white is only escaping with his group and white doesn't really attack anything around. So maybe instead of this escaping with this shape, it's possible to play something else. Maybe it's possible just to survive here on the top. Even if white plays just like this and later white would play something like this to make two eyes, at least white gets points. White gets a few points on the top, Later, in this spot, is going to be some center for white. Later, white might be also able to play, for example, like this to get some extra points in center in the corner, because white threatens, so that black maybe would need to protect somehow his shape, because if black doesn't connect, white is able to cut. So maybe black would play something like this. So white in center can get also some extra profit because of playing in this spot. So white gets territory in this case. And later, at some point, if white would be anyway interested in cutting, maybe instead of this empty triangle, it would be more interesting, for example, to cut this way. So it's possible to do some more problems. Or if white wants to enter the center in a little bit more severe way, maybe it's possible to play just like this. So if black cuts, anyway, it's not a very big problem. It's possible even to make this exchange and like have there some stones in the center. So this is some other possibility for white. So I would just recommend not to play this empty triangle, because white doesn't get any points while playing there. White just escapes with a group, which all the time is not really alive, because black can play anything here on the top. Black can play, for example, like this. White doesn't have two eyes. So all the time black can keep pressure on this group, so that white will need to continue escaping with this group. So that this empty triangle looks really very, very suspicious in this case. Later in the game, black played here. I think it's possible also to fight a little bit more while playing this move. It's also possible to attack white's group while playing, for example, here in this place. So like this, black keeps pressure on white's group. So while keeping pressure, black gets own group stronger, and later it might be really more annoying for white even when black plays like this, because if white thinks white will need to escape, during this attacking, black will get some stones around. If white plays like this, black can, for example, extend. White all the time needs to do something with this group, for example, playing like this, and later it's already very easy for black to cut. So while attacking the group, while keeping pressure on opponent's stones, it's really possible to get much stronger shape, because this opponent will need to escape. So black in this case will get his group stronger. So while getting this group stronger, it's possible, for example, to use here this weakness in this position. So it's possible to do a lot of problems for white here on the right side. Yeah, but that was the game. White played here and black played tenuki. It's risky, in my opinion, because black cannot really lose much while playing here. I feel like this move might be some kind of center. White can choose escaping into the center or just making life here on the top. So while playing there, what is the change? In this case, while playing here, black gets his own group alive. This group, black doesn't need to worry about this group anymore. Next thing, that there are also quite many points. Black gets the corner basically in center. So it's also not that small just in itself if looking on points, but most of all, black also strengthens his own group. So in the actual game, when black played the other direction, there might be quite a big move here for white just to jump, so that maybe it will be possible to attack black's group. But now if looking here on this, what happened in the game, black decided to play here this attachment and later try to connect. What's going on around this shape? Black has here quite strong group, but it's like some distance away from this what's going on now. And white has here some stones, one stone actually here in this spot. I think it's possible to use this stone. So just to cut, do their problems for black. For black, it's not that easy to run away with these two stones. White doesn't need to worry very much about the corner, because it's a corner. It's easy to survive there for white on the top. White can get there some points, and black has two groups. So if black tries to do something with one group, the other group might get weaker. So in this case, I think it would be not easy for black to defend both this one stone and here these two stones. I would just recommend for white to cut in this case, especially that white has here this stone in this spot, so it's much easier to do some problems against these two stones. In the actual game, white decided to play like this. If white normally wants to defend, I would recommend anyway to play, for example, this jump. Because after playing here, there start to be some more weaknesses in white's shape. But I will explain a little bit later. In the actual game, black decided to play here like this, and white defended. Okay, I think it's possible to defend just like this to have a little bit more points, but okay, white was afraid. Now black made some exchange and now black played here. It's possible to play a little bit stronger, I think, here on the top. If black plays like this, what can white do? If white will connect anyway here on the top, like this, now it's possible to play here this Atari, and in case white connects, black can basically destroy white's corner. White will need to play even like this. White doesn't have an eye, basically, in the corner. All the time it's possible to play like this. White doesn't have an eye, so it's a big problem for white. And maybe white will also connect like this, but now black doesn't need to think about any connection, because while being able to capture these two stones, already black has a very big profit. So this way, if white plays here, black already can get really quite huge profit, because now black can think about playing tenuki. Black is already connected there with everything. And if white connects, now this stone is not connected with the other stones, so that there might be some possibilities of getting some center for black. For example, this maybe will be center. For example, this maybe will be some center. So it's possible to do some problems against this white stone because it's not directly connected. It's not possible to cut this stone, to separate this stone from the other stones, but because it's not directly connected, it's possible to get some center moves around for black. So if playing, for example, these kind of moves, black protects also a little bit here this cutting point. So maybe black will not need to defend and lose a move without any other profit to connect here in this spot. Maybe it will be possible to play a little bit wider and get some other profit, for example, some small moyo here in this area. In the actual game, black, however, did this exchange, and later black protected his shape, okay, and white tried to cut. It might be not so easy, in my opinion, to do many problems against black, because this group, all the time, is quite strong. I feel like it will be not very easy to attack this group. And the other group, still, black is able to play, for example, in this spot, it's possible to do there some base for black. Still, I feel like it will be not very easy for white to attack black. And does black have points in this area? Are there really points for black? I think it will be very difficult for black to get points here in this area, because even if white doesn't play there, black will need to play from one side, something like this, and later, all the time, white has an entrance from the other side. So black will need to also protect a little bit around to get there any points, and even if black plays something around, it's just not big. So playing in this case looks here a little bit small, in my opinion. I would recommend to save here this group on the top to make sure that this group takes a lot of points. Black doesn't have any points in the corner, and it's possible also to attack the other group, so that when this black's group here doesn't have eyes and it might be attacked, then it might be even more difficult for black to get here some points, because white has this another possibility. White is even more flexible in this case. White is able to attack black's group, so white will be able to get some center around. Like if black plays here, white will be able to play some moves which are going to be center. So later it's anyway possible to destroy this area later. So I would recommend just to play here on the top. Maybe slightly better than playing here in this case might be to play like this and later extend, because black has even less area for making eyes. If white plays this way, later black can play here, for example, this attachment, so black is able to try to make an eye in this spot. And if white makes this exchange first, later black cannot even try to make an eye in this spot. Not possible. So maybe like this will be even a little bit more interesting for white to attack black's group and get some points on the top. But anyway, I would recommend to play here something in the top right corner. So in the actual game, white played like this and black tried to fight. And now also I feel like it's quite important moment. What's going on there? White has this stone here, and white has basically two options of escape. Third option is always to play tenuki, not to care about this. But if white wants to move with this stone, what's gonna happen? If white decides to play like this, what will play black? I feel like black is going to play something like this, what happened in the actual game. Black cut. Black cut, because black separates now these stones with the other group, and black also escapes with own group. So black cuts, and where is level of white stones? White is behind black. White has here these two stones, so black has here one stone, here one stone. Black is faster than white in this potential escape here in the center. And now let's check the alternative. if white plays from the other side. What is black going to do? If black plays this way, now white is one stone faster. White doesn't have a stone here. White's level of white stones are one line further. So now it's easier for white to escape. White is, for example, able even to play in this spot so that white can try to connect here all his stones. White blocks black here on the left side. Black needs to play something there in this area, not to die. I think it might be quite risky if black plays tenuki in this case. So white gets a wall around just because of playing this move here in this spot. It's possible to surround black. So if anyway black will be in kind of a need or in a will of playing in this case and cutting white stones, these stones from the other stones, and also escaping with this own group, then white is able to play this faster way here in the other side, and it's possible to really do much more. And if black is afraid of playing that way, maybe black can also try to cut and not let white play here this nice shape. But in this case, white is able, for example, to play already like this. So white kind of connects these two stones with the other stones. White blocks black's group from going into the center. So in my opinion, it should be still quite fine for white. So in this case, I would really recommend to play this way because anyway, if black plays like this, white is able to block this, and if black plays from the other side, white is able to block black from the other side. So this is, in my opinion, quite big difference to play in this case in this fight. Later in the game, we've got a few moves, and here let's look on this what happened. Black made this exchange and later played here tenuki. This exchange, this so-called peep, when black plays from one side when there is just one space jump and the opponent connects. Normally it's very popular move to make a group heavy, so that one player makes this exchange and later white has less space to do something around because black has this extra move, so white has less space to try to escape because of this stone, black stone here in this area. But if black doesn't make this exchange, and if black makes this exchange from the other side and plays like this, which side is better? From what side white would be able to do some problems? From this side or from the other side? If black plays like this, anyway white is able to play, for example, something like this, anyway white is able to escape. And if black plays this exchange from this side, now white is not able to do anything because black has stones here anyway. So when black blocks, like when black makes this peep, makes this exchange, black blocks white from going on the right side, and from the left side, anyway, it's not possible for white to go. So I would really recommend to make this exchange from the other side, where black doesn't have stones, and later black is able to cut white, so white cannot connect these stones with the other stones here in this spot. Of course, there are also some other ways of playing for white. White can also think about playing, for example, like this, and if black connects, to try to escape a little bit in a little bit wider way. But if we are looking on just this exchange and playing here, white all the time is able to play, for example, something like this, and white might be able to get ice. And if black connects like this is going to be center because white will survive with his group. So white all the time might be able to play here. Actually, maybe even starting with this one. After starting with this one, if black plays like this, white can, for example, make this Atari, and later white is able to cut so that black has here one group, second group. So two problems for black. And if black connects, white is able to try to get an eye. So it doesn't change much that black made this exchange or no. So if black is afraid that white will be able to escape a little bit wider, I would recommend just to play this way, and maybe sooner or later at some point, some case, might be possible to make this exchange a little bit later. Okay, so in the game white decided to jump, and now white tried to escape with the other group. White decided to escape with the other group, but if white didn't play there, what can black do? Let's say white would just jump and try to make the other group in a center a little bit stronger. What can black do on the right side? If black tries to play here something like this, on the right side, like so that white will not have a base, maybe white will decide to play this way. Later black should probably defend himself, and now white is able to play, for example, this jump, so that white can try to escape with this group. And now let's compare it with the game. In the actual game, when white decided to play like this, black all the time is able to play here. But now white has a worse shape. Why worse shape? Because these moves which white has sent there, like for example this exchange, now show us that white will get an empty triangle, not so good shape. So that if white, for white it's not so interesting to make this kind of exchanges, maybe white will need to play something else, but it's very hard for white to get any other exchange which would be very helpful. White can make this kind of exchanges, okay, but now after making these exchanges, black has more solid territory here. Before, without this exchange, maybe white would be able to think about invading here inside and try to get some points. And after making this exchange, it's already much more difficult for white. So here in this case, it's anyway quite difficult for black, for black to attack white's group, even though white doesn't have the stone here in this spot. So if black plays like this, white is all the time able to escape. It should be like no problem for white to survive. White has a lot of space there in the center, so basically group is alive. And if trying to play from outside, how is it possible to play? How is it possible to block? If black plays like this, white is already able to play something this way. Now black can cut. If black cuts, there starts to be maybe some small problems for white. So if white tries to cut like this, doesn't work because black plays here. Okay, there are some small weaknesses, so it's possible to do there some problems, but it might be dangerous for white. So maybe this move might be a little bit too much for white. But instead of playing this move, all the time it's possible to play something else so that this group will be alive. Which moves? For example, it's possible to play just like this. If white plays here, what can black do? Maybe black will play here. Okay, white will connect, black will connect. How much space white has on the right side? It's like this group is alive. White doesn't need to worry about this group. There is already so much space that white without many problems should be able to get their two eyes. And all the time white keeps center. So it's difficult for black to try to kill this way. If black plays like this, basically it's similar, now even a little bit more annoying because it's possible to play like this, or if black captures basically the same, possible to play here and possible to capture this stone. Are there any other moves? It's possible to try to play something like this, but now even it starts to be more problematic because white is able to try to cut like this and black cannot cut white. After this, white is just able to connect. So white cuts black, but black cannot cut white, so it should be also quite interesting for white. And in any case, white is able to play something here on the second line and just to make life. In any case, it doesn't really matter what black played, even if playing like this, or like this, white just is able to make life with this group. So I think white doesn't need to be afraid very much of this group, because here we have actually another thing. If white makes life, black gets some kind of a wall, right? Black gets a wall. In some cases it might be good to get a wall, but in this case it will be very hard to use it because white already has a stone, has stones here in this side. White has this group, so later if black will play something here, white is able to play this way, and black cannot get there any points. And still it's very hard for black to use this wall while attacking white's group because white has a lot of space around anyway. So it's very difficult to do something on the right side, so I would recommend just to play something else. And here while playing this move, when black plays like this, white is able, for example, to make anyway a good shape with escaping with this group. And later, if we are looking here on the black shape, black has here this one space Kosumi. Like, okay, black was able to block white, but it's very annoying if at some point white will play here. It's very difficult for black to really defend against this move. If white plays here now, maybe black will play Tenuki, maybe black will try to attack this group. But if white is already secured with this own group, later it might be really very annoying for black to defend. After this move, very difficult to play. Like if playing just like this, then white is able to connect, white might be even able to attack black's group, because black is also separated. So there are some annoying things also in black's shape. But let's move to the game. After this move, black decided to play like this. There was some attack in these shapes. Here in this area, black decided to connect the stone, and white is able to cut here these two stones. Now, when black already has stones around, if white doesn't have here eye, for example, if black plays like this, when white doesn't have eye in the center, it might be a little bit more annoying for white when black plays this kind of moves. There is a little bit less space for white to create eyes. Still, white's group is alive. This group is alive anyway. But if black starts to protect himself a little bit around, then this group in the center, this other group, starts to be in a little bit bigger danger. So I would recommend black just to play like this, so it's not possible for white to capture these two stones. And in the actual game, when white captured these two stones, now black protected his shape. But is it really necessary to protect? We can notice that this exchange is going to be center for black. We can also notice that this exchange is going to be center for black. So, while having this exchange for center for black, we can also notice that white doesn't have this move in center, because before maybe we could think that if black doesn't play there, maybe this move will be center. But if we see that this exchange is center, so this move is not center for white. So when we already know that white cannot get this move in center, now we can also think, like, if black will make this and this exchange, black doesn't need to play here now, but black is able to play there basically anytime. And if we are looking on black's shape, like, it looks like there are some weaknesses. Maybe white can think about playing some strange moves around, maybe possible to play like this. After playing this move, black is basically able to play just like this. And now, if white is not able to get this move here, it's already possible to play this way and capture white stones. So black doesn't need to be afraid basically at all about his stones. Even in this case, like, it's possible even to play from the other side. It's even possible to play like this without really looking on the other things. Just here there is some small profit for white, that maybe white will be able to do there some problems with cuts, like there is some extra RG. But even if playing like this, all the time black can protect everything for himself. So when black decided to play here, black lost a move. It's like handicap for white. Black just lost a move. It was not necessary to play there at all. Black didn't gain any profit, so I would recommend just to play Tenuki for black. And now I really don't understand why white made this exchange. Without this exchange, black cannot do anything. Black cannot cut here white's group. But after making this exchange, if white plays Tenuki, black is already able to play here and capture white's stones. So this exchange, I really don't understand why white made this exchange. In the actual game, later white played here on the top, but all the time there is this RG. Like, black doesn't need to be afraid about his shape because this is center. So after this, white cannot really get any profit while cutting in this spot. So after playing here, black is able to capture these 5 stones here in this area. But 5 stones is not very much, it's not very big, so black can play Tenuki. So black played here, good. Black tries to attack here white's stones in the center. Here white decided to make this kind of exchange. So it looks like white tries to create eyes. But when there is a weak group, and when this group tries to create eyes, in my opinion, it's quite important to look, do we strengthen opponent? Does white strengthen opponent with this exchange? Because if white would already make second eye, then the group is alive. So after making this exchange, white is able to play Tenuki. But in this case, white anyway decided to try to escape with this group. White decided to play there something else, and basically all the time white has this group not 100% alive. White all the time needs to escape. Like here, actually black could play a little bit softer, so white anyway will need to escape. Like, this is easier to see, that black is all the time able to connect everything, and white needs to escape with this group. So when we see that this white's group anyway will need to escape, maybe it's better just to play something like this, without strengthening opponent. It looks like, black has here some, maybe it's black's area. Yes, but after making this exchange, it's even more black's area, and maybe at some point white might be able to think, I will invade. So if, let's say, the shape goes like this, it will be easier to invade in this shape for white than if black has here this extra stone, because there's like some small help for black, so it starts to be more difficult to do any problems for white, problems for black by white, here in this case on the bottom. So that this exchange, while trying to make I, like making decision that maybe I will get this I, and later will anyway try to escape, it would be good to look, do I strengthen opponent? Because if the strengthening is like annoying, important, and so on, maybe better not to try to make this I now, maybe better just to escape without strengthening opponent, if white plans to escape anyway. Because if white makes this group connected with some other group, now this I makes no difference for white, that white will have here an I or no. It's no difference at all. But this strength for black remains. Black will have this strength. So I would recommend to not to play here now in this very moment. It's possible to play here later when white will know that it's not possible to escape, so I need to make eyes. So then white can play in this spot. Here, in this case, it's possible just to extend, so black will not let white cut himself. Like, white cannot cut black. And in this case, when black is connected with everything, there are no weaknesses in black's shape, so black can attack white's group in a little bit more efficient way. After this, there is some weakness. White is able to cut, and now black has two groups, this group and this group. And I feel like black will need to protect somehow this group on the top, so white might be able to attack this other group, so that if black protects his group like this, white can do a lot of problems with the other group. So it starts to be very risky for black now. I think black needs to play like this, so that black will keep everything connected. In the actual game, white decided to connect. I think black needs to come back. It's just too big, these weaknesses, so that white is able to cut here. In the actual game, black tried to kill, and I think it's just too much. Because how many points does this move give black? It doesn't give any points, maybe one, that white will not have here a point. So on points, it's a very small move. But black's plan, of course, is to kill white's group. But now, when white has this possibility of cut, and after this, when white is able to cut here these stones in the center, and white actually, I think, is even able to kill these stones in the center, then this move is an overplay. It's just too much. I think it would be much more interesting for black, instead of this move, to protect like this, or protect like this, just playing something outside. If white will make two eyes, okay, white will make two eyes, but let's look on points. White has here some points, here some points, here some points, maybe here some points, but black has here really very big area. So that if black will play, for example, like this, and white will make here this second eye, black all the time keeps center, it should be still quite interesting game for black. So this one, it looks like really just too much. Now I feel like black really needs to protect himself. Black decided to cut and fight, so white basically killed black. But now it was still possible to try to survive. Here I would recommend white to protect like this, because now this stone has some more liberties. This stone, what white had here, has more liberties, so when we compare it with the game, when white plays like this and black plays like this, it starts to be a little bit more dangerous for white, because this stone has less liberties, only two in this case, so black might be able to play some forcing moves. While playing forcing moves, it's possible to get some eye shapes. So in this case, I would really recommend to play like this, because now this move, for example, might be considered as not center. And like this, white decided to come back. So now black, instead of playing here, is able to play here. Black gets two eyes, one eye, second eye, and all white's group dies. So basically, in this case, would be game over. White, like, I think, cannot kill here black's group on the top. If white plays like this, black will make here one eye, here second eye. If white plays something else, some more complicated stuff, all the time it's possible to get two eyes for black. If white decides to cut, black might be able to play here one eye here, second eye here. So in this case, if black plays just like this, black kills white's group, and black makes life with his own group. After this move, it's possible already to kill. So when white kills this group, it was game over, but the other way. White won in this case. Here there were a few more moves. Yeah, this was how it has been played, like this, and now it was finished. Black resigned. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your attention. If you would like to support me somehow, I would recommend you to enter polgote.com. Write this in your browser, polgote.com, and you can order some Go lessons. You can enter online Go school, which I run. You can buy some Go equipment, some Go books. You're very welcome. So thank you.